First of all, thank you so much, Doc. I really appreciate what you all do at community colleges because my first degree that I ever got was from Laredo Junior College. So I'm a big believer in community colleges. In fact, when I was in the state legislature, I was the vice chair of the Higher Education Committee, and we were talking about, my chairwoman was Irma Rangel. The folks who are a little older might remember her. And then I was also the chairman of the Subcommittee on Education and Appropriations, the ones that brought the funding for both public schools and higher education. I focus a lot on higher ed because I always think that education is the greatest equalizer that we have in our society. My mom and dad were migrant workers. They only went to 1 year, 3 years of school. That was it. In the old days, the more hands you had to go work in the fields, it was a different time, different era, the more money you made out there. But our parents taught us different lessons, and among the lessons that we learned was to work hard and get a good education because our parents just couldn't get the education. And they told us, so that's what I did. I went off and got my first degree from Laredo College. Then I went off to Georgetown University, graduated from there. Then went to the University of Texas, Austin, A&M. So I'll mention A&M in a second also. Got my law degree from UT Austin. They got my master's from Loreto State, which is now Texas A&M International. So we got to make sure we gig them. John Sharp, if you're listening to me, gig the Aggies on that. But and then I got a PhD from the University of Texas also. So higher ed is very, 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 very important to me. When I was in the state legislature, those were the good old days, as we mentioned, where 75% of all the new monies every year, as you know, the legislature meets every 2 years, and we added 75% of all the new monies went to public and higher ed. Things are a little different now, but still, it's working in the state of Texas. And I also was the author of House Bill 713. I still remember that years ago, 1999, probably before you were born. I was the author of the Texas Grant. The Texas Grant is the largest scholarship in Texas history. When I first established this, it covered community college. Somewhere down the line after I left, they took out community colleges, and I think, in my opinion, community colleges should be there. But at the federal level, in the Appropriations Committee, I've added money for the Pell Grants. Every year, I increase the money by $100 on the Pell Grants, the max amount. And also monies that I've added for Gear Up, Upper Bound, and other programs that are so important to have the transition between high school and, of course, going off to college. And then the other thing that was very important on the Pell Grant was, some of y'all remember, they took away summer Pell Grants. Well, we put summer Pell Grants back because not all students want to take the summer off. Some students want to continue to take summer classes like I did when I was in college also. So we added the summer Pell Grant, and I think that is so important. Today, we're here at the college, and again, coastal bend is very important to me. I did not represent Atascosa County when I was in the state legislature. I represented Laredo, but since I was the chairman, I worked with some of your leaders here to establish this campus here, even though I did not represent it. Jerry Davison, I think Jerry has passed away, I believe. Jerry Davison was one of the leaders, community leaders, and then Judge Hurley also was one of those leaders, and the three of us and other folks, we worked to make sure that we established the Coastal Bend site here, campus here in Atascosa. And then for our friends in the valley, back over there, we also at that time established the South Texas College in Rio Grande City, or in Stark County also. So even though I didn't represent the areas, I'm a big believer of community colleges, a big community college supporter. So as you know, the pandemic came upon us very fast in March of 2020, and it hit us very fast. So whatever you can, take your vaccine. There will be a booster shot starting in September. And whatever you do, make sure that you wear your mask, even if you're vaccinated. In the old days, and again, these are people that are a little older, you guys might not remember, but if you wanted to go to school, you had to have your tetanus shot, you had to have your polio, you had to have all these shots. And I know we're in a different era now, and it's a little different. But again, what we need to do is to make sure that we realize that, you know, in many places, 95% of the people that are in hospitalization are the unvaccinated. Again, we don't want to tell anybody what to do, but we will certainly highly encourage you to vaccinate and certainly wear your mask also. So we came up with different relief packages. As you know, there were a series of relief packages, and I'm just going to put them all together because there's different cares and relief, and I mean, they were just different ones. But I would say this, that we added billions of dollars across the country because we wanted to make sure that students at community colleges, higher ed in general, had the funding. So the monies that the Coastal Bend College was about a little bit over $14 million. Out of the $14 million, half of that money went directly to the students. And that is, it would be, so whether it was to fix your car, and I've heard a lot of stories, you got a little bit of debt, you need a little bit of money. Half of that, $7 million, went to the students out of the 14. And then the other money, of course, also is going to you either directly or indirectly. Whether it was a laptop that was bought to help you, and again, I'll just give you, and I'm gonna have the doctor go into specifics, but like in different community colleges, depending, money was used for laptops, so students could have a laptop. Money was used for Wi-Fi hotspots. Because you can be at home and you don't have the connectivity. Monies were used to pay off, for example, some of the colleges are going to be using the monies to buy books for the next semester or pay debt for 1 year going back. And a lot of things that we're going to emphasize, make sure that the air condition and the ventilation and other things, the mask and everything was working to provide you safety. So one way or the other, the money's going back to the students and to the administrators. But think about the $14 million, half go to students and the other half will go back to you one way or the other. Now, the other thing is we talked about the pandemic, and we knew this before, that in the rural areas and even in some of the big areas, we had a problem with broadband connectivity. But I think the pandemic showed us that we had a problem. So when people had to stay home and you couldn't get it. In areas, there were schools, for example, that would put the hotspots in the parking lot. So parents said, hey, sounds like a great idea, we'll do our homework because we don't have it at home. But if you live in a place like my hometown, and maybe you know this, Laredo, when it gets about 105, 109, after a while, being in that parking lot gets a little tough. So we have to do broadband. In Congress, we have added billions of dollars for broadband. Some to the Department of Commerce, some to USDA, some to a program we call eConnect, and there are billions of dollars that we put in. Now, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at the United States and the deficiency we've had in that particular area, we still need to do a lot more. In some of the bills we're working on, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, there are billions of dollars in broadband, and we're hoping to do a little bit more in that aspect. And we want to be helpful. Finally, let me talk about it. And when I used to be the chairman for higher ed, I would tell the A&M chancellor, the UT chancellor, the presidents, and of course the community college associations, look for partnerships. It is very important that you look at your sphere of influence and how you can expand that sphere, and partnerships are important. I'll give you an example, and it's going to be up to your president to make this decision, all of y'all, but I'll give you an example. You have a federal clinic here, Monty Small, has that clinic. He does an excellent job. He's in Wilson, he's here, he's at McMullen and other places, Torrance. In Laredo, we got the federal clinic that went over to the Laredo College. And they said, can we work with the college so we can provide community health care, but at the same time, community or health care to the students, and then it also becomes a educational partner because they will teach them, because you got doctors or nurses that will be working there. So if you have a nursing degree, for example, by the way, if you go to nursing, you got a job. In some places, they got bonuses, a sign-up bonus on that. So, you know, there's ways to develop those partnerships, and there's so many ways of doing that. I pledge that I will work with your leadership to work with Monty Small. I don't want to speak for Monty Small, but we'll be happy to sit down with them. We'll be happy to work with USDA because they got money also from broadband and Department of Commerce. And we want to work with y'all to make sure, because again, community colleges are special to me, because my first degree, besides high school, was at a community college. So I'm a big believer in community college. So we'll talk about the money, but if you don't mind, Doc, if you want to talk about some of the specific ways that you use this to pay off debt and other ideas for the students, because I'll say this, we don't want you to say, well, you know, I got a hold of me coming back, and everybody understands the holds at higher ed, because you owe some money. If they're able to clear that debt, then you have no excuse. You literally have no excuse. And I think what y'all are doing is trying to clear up some of the hold so they can pay off your debt, and you can come back, because we've got to get you back into community college, and either you come out with a certificate or a 2-year associate, or you go on to a 4-year institution on that. So why don't we, if you don't mind, I'd like to hear what you all are doing here specifically.
Yes, sir. Well, first and foremostly, as you indicated, half of the money, as once it was appropriated and disseminated from beginning last year through next spring, is dedicated to providing student relief. We are committed and to providing that, and as an indication, we have already disseminated across our service area $2 million to our students to help them with direct emergency relief. Additionally, especially for our nursing students that students have an interest in nursing, we have in our career and technical education, that's a type of education that you just have to be hands-on, as you know, sir. And we have made it a mission to keep those students as safe as we can. So we have provided additional monies for protective equipment and, of course, cleaning supplies to keep a healthy learning environment. We had at one of our other campuses, we kept the spot for students if we had to quarantine, and we outfitted those areas with computers. So as we all have become versed in what COVID-19 is, we know that we can contract it and be a carrier but not be really deathly ill. So a lot of our students had to quarantine, but we did not want them to stop with their academic pursuits. It was not a 2-week off. It was stay with it if you're healthy enough, and we wanted to make sure they had that opportunity. So, you know, those are just some of the ways. We have also looked at, we want to make sure that our students with the need for broadband and how that has put pressures on our infrastructure. We have a very boring topic, but we have expanded some of our capability in terms of switches so that our students who are off-site can have better access, and even for our students who are on-site, so the Wi-Fi works better on campus. So absolutely, we have been, our primary focus, take care of the students, their needs, and then the students, faculty, and staff health needs. As you did mention, I hope someone was taking notes because you had some great ideas for us. But we're looking at our major areas where we house or would have high student populations, for instance, like our library or our auditorium. We want to make sure that those heating and air systems are working at the rate that they need to work at so that they can produce the air quality that we need to keep people safe in that environment. And we're not done. We do have to, we still have funds available, but it was really about making sure we took care of the student first. And then now, what is the next step to continue those efforts?
And one of the things, and you might correct me, but the way the money that the Department of Education has set up that you have to spend this money in a short period of time, some community colleges have asked for extra time because, higher ed is a little different and you just get, here's the money, you got a plan. So I'm gonna be writing a letter, I'm gonna ask some of my colleagues to see if we can get you a little bit of extra time.
That would be greatly appreciated, and you're absolutely correct, so that the money was given fast, it was given furious, and you are absolutely correct. You have to plan. We're in the middle of a pandemic, taking care of students, and we want to make sure it is our responsibility as college administrators that when we are given government funding, that we spend it appropriately. We are very boring grant talk, but there are allowable expenses, and no one wants to be awarded funds and then have to pay them back. So there's been a lot of caution, and we, I can speak for our team, our leadership team. We don't want to make any mistakes, and we just put the emphasis on the students, and we keep looking for the guidance. I know I've talked with your staff a couple times about the guidance. It's critical for us, and we just certainly don't want to make any mistakes, and that's the big deal. And an extra year would be greatly appreciated.
We are going to ask for an extra year, and hopefully Secretary Cardona will listen to us.
That's that letter of support.
That's it.
Yes, sir. That would be great.
So, thank you so much. Let me we'll put you on the spot. I'd love to hear from the students. I'm here to learn. Seriously, I'm here to learn. Come on over. Come on. All four, it's a lot easier when it's all four. I mean, just so our community can hear, and forget about Facebook Live here, but if you want to tell us about your experience and how the money can be very helpful, and any experience like that, especially like, I mean, I talked to so many students that have said that the debt that they had and the money was very helpful on that. But
Can I help you?
Yes.
These young ladies are from the high school, sir.
oh, high school. No wonder you're on looking at.
Yeah, so they are here.
All right, we're gonna have a speak for high school. All right, let me tell you. Okay, let me talk about high school. Look, in the old days when my parents grew up, and remember what I said, my parents went to 1 and 3 years of education. I remember my mom saying, all of y'all, I'm the oldest of 8 kids, all of y'all are gonna graduate from high school. Notice what I said, high school. Because in the old days, that was it. That was it. Not anymore. And then, we started talking about 2 years and 4 years. And now maybe even graduates experience also. I would tell you that you cannot use money as an excuse for not going to school. You cannot use that. I came from a very, my father was a migrant worker making $300 a month for 8 kids and mom and dad, 10 of us. Different times, but it was $300 a month. And so when I went to the community college, I worked. When I went to Georgetown, I worked 2 jobs, including washing dishes at the school cafeteria, and I worked. But there were also grants. The Pell Grant has been around. And then from there, of course, I had to get a little bit of student loan. We always try to minimize the student loan. And then from there, when I became a member of the state legislature, that is the main reason, my personal experience, why I created the Texas Grant, which is now the largest scholarship in Texas history because of my experience. I certainly don't come from a rich family. I don't know if anybody does here, but I think most of us had to work. So I'd love to hear your high school experience and what you want us to do better. There are, I don't know if you take advantage of Upper Bound and here.
They are dual credits. I just sent some information. So
Yeah, let me talk about dual credit. I wish I had dual credit when I was going in. Dual credit, as you know, is so important. One, you can graduate sometimes from high school with a 2-year degree. I don't know if you all are doing that.
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, 2-year. So when you graduate, you have your high school diploma, and then of course you got 2 years, and you go out to your 3rd and 4th year. I can tell you that it will save your parents a lot of money by doing the dual credit. It gets you ahead, and it certainly will help your parents. Did I miss anything else? Because
No, sir.
I want to hear from the citizens.
Yes, absolutely.
This is what we do. We think on our feet.
Yes.
Can we hear from y'all? And tell us what your aspirations and the dreams are, and what you think about college. And I assume y'all will hopefully be coming here. Right?
Hi, my name's Jasmine Bernal. I'm a junior at Pleasanton High School, and right now I'm in the Certified Nursing Assistant program that is like combined, like they work together with Coastal Bend, so we can get certified through Coastal Bend, and it's very helpful because like I'm able to do it at school, like in class, so I can have help from my teachers, I can have help from my classmates, and it also helps a lot with the price. Like you were saying, because college is really expensive and it's a lot more beneficial and like money saving to take a class now that isn't as much as it would be if I would take it later. And so Coastal Bend has really helped like me feel better about going into the health field and into college, because they show us that even though like you may not be at like a great financial point, you can still go to college. And I really appreciate that, and I'm pretty sure my classmates do too, so thank you.
That's very good.
Maybe she does rhetoric.
My name is Regina Flores. My mom, she worked real hard raising 6 kids, so maybe it's really good to get a new credit. So when you're in high school and then you're in college, so it's nice for me to do better.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Riley Porter, and I have been taking classes through Coastal Bend since freshman year. My freshman year I was in Principles of Health Science, so it wasn't really a dual credit class. But last year, my sophomore year, I took med-term dual credit and anatomy and physiology dual credit, which helped me out a lot financially and mentally, because it prepared me for all the courses I'm going to take next. This year I am in CNA, which is a dual credit class with Coastal Bend. And next year I'm going to be in CMA, which is also a dual credit class with Coastal Bend. Financially, this has helped me out a lot because a $100 class is way better than a $1,200 class, and I think all of us can agree with that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, she said, no, thank you. Ladies, am I mistaken? Maybe the health field nursing might be on the horizon?
Yes.
Yes. So part of our programming is the CNA.
Signing bonuses.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you notice here's the part that we said that. The idea is for us is the CNA that critical, when everybody has a nurse. I remember when my firstborn son, who is 24 years old, goes to law school. I still remember the nurse that helped my wife and I through that whole series. It was a series. I love it. And they're very important. People remember their nurses. Part of the CNA helps create that caring, for us. So it's a segue into the nursing program, and they'll be ready to go quickly. depending on which program they go. So thank you all for being here today, appreciate it, and sharing with us.
Let me give you one, and I think I was just double check. When I created the Texas grant, one of the things we did is we did a one-stop center to find financial aid. So there's a 1-800 number, but there's also a website, and I believe I have it right, collegeforalltexans.com. That was something that we established when I was there under my legislation. So if you want to find all the available aid, both under federal and state, look up collegeforalltexans.com. There's a toll-free number, but I'll give you the website. And again, don't use money as an excuse. I can't afford it on that. The money's available there one way or the other. It's out there. So that is pretty good. I'm very impressed by y'all.
Thank you.
Negotiate good.
And I would mention, sir, as you met our chair, Board of Trustees, Mr. Gomez, he's actually a nurse and a CBC alum, and we also have another nurse practitioner on our board as well. So healthcare for the community college, for us at Coastal Community, is an important endeavor, and as you know, it's one of a lifelong service.
Do y'all want to be part of the pictures, young ladies? Okay, we're gonna take a picture. Let me say two things real quickly. The Affordable Health Care Act that we passed in 2010, and we are gonna be probably looking at a Medicaid expansion, not socialized medicine. I don't believe in socialized medicine. Medicaid expansion. So that means there's gonna be a lot more resources for y'all. Why don't you come take a quick picture so our young ladies here, who do you want with us here?